Hello, everybody. Welcome to another reaction time with Greg and Dean. Dean, how are you doing, sir? Long time no see.
I'm really good, Greg. How are you?
Are you Batman now? I'm just confused. That Batman freaks me out because his eyeballs are just like little white balls of scariness. He has no
You
pupils.
can't say balls on here, but anyway, I'm really good. How are you doing?
Balls. I said it. What? Wicca wicca. If you haven't seen a reaction time, there's all of this nonsense, but it's also wrapped up in premise that we do here on the show. We cover all your favorite television shows that you love, as well as we love. Do we love The Arrow, Dean?
I love the Arrow.
I love The Arrow as well, and today we shall be discussing Arrow Season 3, Episode 19. It was entitled Broken Arrow, if you didn't know, Dean. Um,
I did know. I read it.
Kind of
On my
sad.
TV.
Because, well,
I read it.
okay. Proud of you, everybody. Dean can
Read
read.
it on my TV. Read it right on my TV.
Dean graduated kindergarten, so this just in, everyone. This is very exciting. Of course, we will be diving into spoilers for the full episode, maybe get into spoilers from the entire series, as well as the Flash series itself, since they're connected, and there was a little bit of a crossover. It only happened at the end here, but we still got one. So let us dive in. Dean, are you ready?
Yeah, I was never, ever more ready than anything than right now that I am for this.
You remember those darts you were talking about before? Throw one at your neck for me. Thank you so much. All right, we start off in this episode, and Roy is blowing up all over Starling City's news. He has taken the blame for Oliver being the Arrow. If you don't remember last episode, that's how it ended. A power surge goes off in this building that they're watching the news on, and this Cyclops from X-Men look-alike metahuman that shoots plasma out of his eyes is on the loose, and he murders these two security guards in here that are just extras on the show. We don't know who they are, and like explodes their bodies, like blood everywhere. I thought it was so graphic. Did you love it?
It was super graphic, and I is that the first time we saw blood on the show?
That's what I wrote down. I wanted to ask you that. It was sickening.
I feel like it is.
It was so good, though. Tell me it wasn't amazing.
It was good, yeah. I just wasn't expecting it. I feel like somebody over at CW saw the Daredevil show on Netflix, and they were like, "Oh, we should use some blood."
Yeah, right.
It's exactly. Like I don't remember ever seeing blood on Arrow before.
Oh my god, did you guys watch Daredevil over the weekend? I'm just gonna throw blood everywhere this scene.
I really don't remember seeing it on the show. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Because they like torture people, like Oliver stabbed people with arrows and like twisted them in the bodies and stuff, and I still haven't seen blood.
No, I've seen like damp areas where they make it look like blood was, but I've never just straight up seen like blood used on the show.
I agree. So I'm glad we came to that revelation, everybody. Laurel comes in and bails out Oliver from prison in this badass lawyer fashion. I love this Laurel so much better than Black Canary Laurel. And she comes in here just like a boss with her heels on and a briefcase, and she's like, "Dad, listen, okay, Bobo, Oliver can't beat you as with the Arrow because Roy admitted to being the Arrow. Your confession doesn't work. You can't keep me in contempt of court. I love you, Dad. Smooches, boy." I'm like, what? I'm like, I love you. P.S. Katie Cassidy is the actress who plays her. She will also be at Philadelphia Comic-Con. So maybe we get a picture with her and the Arrow, and I cry.
I will get a picture with her only if she has the stripper wig.
Stripper wig on. That's what I said. But you have to be wearing the stripper wig too. Like
Katie Cassidy. Why does that sound so familiar? Is she related to somebody else?
I don't know. I didn't look up all of this information. I looked at Katie Cassidy.
I'm on it. Don't worry about it.
On it. Now it's me time to lead it.
Nope, keep going. Go ahead.
Sorry. I know I was in there. Felicity and Ray are at work and discuss Roy being a part of the Arrow team, which apparently at this point in the show, like, I don't get what. There's no secrets. Stop bringing up that everything's a secret because, like, obviously Roy dates the, and she's related to the Arrow, so, like, he's Arsenal. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I have a theory.
Oh, God.
And I'll get to it.
I hate
when I'll get to it in due time. No, I think
Are you revealing the theory now?
No, in this reaction time, I'm going to read not the second, but yes.
Okay. So I'm continuing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. I hated this. And then he brings up how he's in love with her, and it gets really, really awkward. Because she still hasn't said I love you back to him. And this is like a little thread line that you see here and there, but I love in this episode of Arrow, they just always dramatize the show, and that's why I've been liking The Flash so much more, is it's never lighthearted, and in this episode, they never hung on any of those instances, and that's what I appreciated a lot, and like you said, this is the first time in a long time I enjoyed Arrow more than The Flash.
Yeah, for sure.
So continuing on here, Oliver goes to talk to Roy where he tells him that he deserves to be punished for murdering the cop and that he's doing this as almost like his penance because he killed a cop, of course, when he was infected with Mirakuru. How do you feel about this whole plot line with Roy here dealing with his demons?
It seems a little much. I don't see why he's like kind of like he's like at first, okay, when he went and was like delivering food to the family, I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But this is like he's like obsessed with it now. Yeah. And just to rewind for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Was that a little bit of a plot hole with that whole Felicity and Ray Palmer thing?
What do you mean?
Well, in the episode of Arrow, the week before,
Okay.
is when
he says I love you. Yeah.
He says I love you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and she doesn't respond.
Yes.
So then we get to this week's episode of Flash, which airs before Arrow. They don't talk about it at all.
Not at all.
Nothing happens. Everything is great between them. And then this episode of Arrow airs, and they just pick up that conversation like it just happened.
Yeah, well, they have to do that in order to appease, like, the people that only watch Arrow, because there's a very small percentage of people that only watch Arrow and only watch The Flash, so they couldn't like cover that in that show, which is very odd to me. But there are people out there that don't watch both shows. It's retarded because
and they shoot the show like on the same lot in the same studio.
It's literally like Cisco walks over, like they post pictures on Instagram. I follow them all, and they'll just be like taking pictures all day together, like lunch break, and it's both cast like, sitting all next to each other. Which I want to hang out with Paul Blackthorne because he's British, and I want
to hang out with everybody.
Hello, how are you? It's me, Paul. My middle name's
Paul. Paul Blackthorne. I'll play a police officer. Some people think I'm American. Well, I'm actually a British man.
It's the best thing ever in the world, and I love it. We see a flashback. This is the one downside to this episode for me. Oliver's with Maseo and Tatsu where they discuss breaking into Argus together. It's revealed that there's this whole plan throughout these flashbacks. Amanda Waller gets captured by the military, and they have this poison that they're going to let out into Hong Kong and kill all of these people, including themselves, in order to make a statement that Argus is bad and private corporations, all this crap. Oliver kind of trusting Amanda Waller. She tells them to get out of Hong Kong, and then him, Tatsu, and Maseo have this discussion where he's like, they break into Argus, they get the vaccine, and he's going to inject Akio, their son, and then both of them with the vaccine. And Tatsu's kind of like, I'll get poisoned if it means setting a good example for my son. And I'm like, get over yourself and your values. Like, get the boy out of Hong Kong. You're being a hooker. And she's like, we will help you on your quest. You need to learn two people help you. And I'm like, do you feel like I do a good Tatsu?
It's great.
I feel like it's pretty awesome.
It's fantastic.
And that was basically the whole flashback scenario this episode. So how'd you feel about those?
I'm over the flashbacks, man. I'm over them, especially this one. Like when the show first started and it was like flashbacks of how he got off the island and stuff. I was like, great, this is awesome. But like now I feel like they're doing it just for the sake of doing it.
And it's like, don't give us... Like, you can do flashbacks. Like, they did it perfectly with Deadshot when they did his whole Floyd Larson coming back from the army and stuff and, like, dealing with that. And then the Hive references. Like, those were all cool. But, like, you don't have to have the flashback in the show in order to continue the show. Like, you could still keep your core cast characters and try not to weave in all these instances where all these people met but then don't know each other in present day. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes me angry. Malcolm meets with Oliver a little bit this episode, and he's kind of been MIA for a bit here, but we finally see him, and he thinks Oliver should become the new head of the League of Assassins, kind of tells him, like, listen, dude, you're not going to win this war. Are you waiting for somebody that we care about to get killed? Which I was like, they wouldn't, but we'll get to that later in the episode, because Greg cried, but paused on that. And then he's kind of like, listen, I know that I don't want to become the new head of Assassins, but I do know that I ain't going to let Roy take the blame. And he's like, I'm going to break him out of prison. I'm like, oh, God. Like, he just doesn't think about things ever.
I actually like that a lot.
I thought that's what the episode was going to culminate into, but then it doesn't because it gets even crazier. And they do, like, do you ever see the movie Now You See Me? The Magicians, like, heist movie?
I have, yes.
That's what this episode reminded me of.
A little bit, yeah, I could see that.
It was so awesome, but we'll get to why in a bit. The end is, like, 10 minutes of punching you in the gut until you're like, what? And then you want to cry. The gang unites all at the Verdant. I still don't know how to say this club name, Dean. Did you ever look it up?
That's it.
It's Verdante.
No, that's Verdant. No, it's not Verdante. It's just Verdant.
It's Dante. It's Devil May Cry's main character.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Okay, just making sure. So they end up at Verdant. They decide to call Star Labs to get help with the metahuman situation, which I totally forgot was even a thing in this episode. It was totally underplayed, but he was like the best villain out of both shows ever.
It was weird because it was like both of the crossovers on the Flash and the Arrow were weird because they were like these half-assed crossovers.
Yeah.
Or like an element from each show crossover, but like not the main dudes you wanted to cross over.
Exactly. Literally, that's what I thought, word for word. I was watching the episode, I'm like, stop with this nonsense of like, let's call Barry to help out. But like every other week, you could do it on your own. Like all of a sudden, because there's a metahuman, it's like, oh, now we need Barry. Barry, come over here.
Well, before, did they have any metahumans on Arrow?
They had, he wasn't a metahuman, but he's a classic Flash villain, the Boomerang guy.
Right.
Like he like throws the boomerangs and they're like razor sharp claw needle thing.
Yeah, right.
Well,
that was I had no problem with that because they were like, well, we haven't really dealt with anyone with superpowers yet, so let's call Barry. But then what I don't like is like, I'm sure he has his hands full right now. Like, you're doing the crossover, just cross it over, just let him come.
Yeah, Felicity, he's in a bad place right now. He's just dealing with his mother's death for like the 30th time. So like, we'll just leave him over. I don't know why she's Fran Drescher, but that's
she is.
Proud of her. Oh, Mr. Allen. Captain Lance finds no proof because he interrupts them with a search warrant to search the Arrow Cave, which, once again, why do you have a padlock on the door? Because the police literally bust it down. I thought in my head it was like a vault door. No, they literally like poke it and the door breaks off.
I thought it was like a vault door as well.
I'm like, what the hell is this nonsense? They investigate the Arrow Cave. He's like, I got you now, you son of a bitch. I'm like, whoa, Lance is off his rocker.
Yeah, he was intense, dude. He was real pissed.
Paul Blackthorne, phenomenal in this episode. His vendetta and his storyline right now with going after Oliver is so good. Like, this is the best acting I've seen from him the whole 3 seasons.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you.
Felicity and Oliver go to see Ray, and they ask him to go after the metahuman with the Atom suit. And Ray's kind of like this corny little naive boy, which is weird to me because he's so smart. And he's kind of like, yeah, you team up. Love you, Oliver. High five. And Oliver's like, he is going to die. And he's retarded. The episode keeps going here. We flash back again. Or no, we already did all the flashbacks. We don't need to cover those anymore. Thea goes to visit Roy in jail where he says he doesn't want to see her anymore. Which I want to get to a little bit more later in the episode, but think about this, Dean. Don't forget that they had this conversation because I want to discuss what happens to baby Thea. I said I want to... Okay, we'll keep going.
I have a lot to say about everything.
I'm going to cry. I might cry during the thing. She's my favorite character. Oliver allows Ray to go after the metahuman, Jake Simmons, and he goes, there's a decent chance that you and Palmer are related to Felicity when they have their geek out moment of she's like, honey, be safe. You're going to use the Atom suit. You're going to go over there with your facial recognition. And they like list statistics, and he's like, I know. I'll be good. I won't die. I love you. Kisses. And they like make out. I'm like, they're brother and sister. They're not a couple.
Right.
They freak me out. Do they weird you out at all?
Yeah, a little bit, for sure.
And then he goes to this battle where he shoots his atom hand and the guy absorbs it and is like, thanks for topping me off. And then he like murders the atom. He like barely breaks away and gasping for air. How did you feel? Like the atom's the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah, he is pretty much the worst. It looked really cool. Like the suit looked really cool. I was so excited to see it, but he really is kind of the worst. He really just is kind of the worst.
And I feel bad because it's like not Brendan Routh. It's like he's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like Ray is such a geeky, but like muscular, but like not strong guy. It's weird. Like they just.
But you know what the Atom's power is, really?
Isn't it to shrink?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like
and it's getting there, as we saw in this episode.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Was it the Flash that we saw that?
The Flash, yeah, that was.
Still in the Flash. He captures the bee, and he is like, maybe the trick is to get smaller.
Yeah.
So that's cool because he's not really doing what he's known for doing yet. So I have hope for him. So.
Yeah, right now they're still trying to pass him as like the Iron Man superhero. But I think there'll come a scenario where he's like, there's poison in Felicity's bloodstream. You have to shrink down and go fight the blood cells. And he's like, bam, Ray Plummer. I don't know why he sounds like that, but I'm going to do the voice acting for the mini Ray. Ray beats the shit out of all of the inmates in a 10 times better fight scene. The inmates go to after Roy, while he's in the jail cell. They're having like this little walk along. Roy, handcuffed, hands behind his back the entire time, kicks the shit out of like 7 huge like muscle head dudes. Was that not the best scene ever?
Yeah, that was the bomb.
It was so good. I'm so happy Roy got so much spotlight in this episode of The Arrow. How did you feel about his story overall? Like it was so good.
It was good. It was really good. I liked it. I felt like it was sort of out of Oliver's personality though to just like sit back.
Yeah, and
like when he said was like I'm going to break him out, and then everybody was like no. Oh, how about the scene between him and Diggle?
That's what I was just getting into. Right after the Roy scene here, Captain Lance is searching Oliver and Thea's apartment. He's kind of like, listen, your brother's letting your boyfriend rot in jail. He just got attacked, and he gets a mid phone call while he's at Thea's apartment. And so she rushes over there, and she's like, Ollie Lane, Ray, he's fighting, baby. And Diggle's kind of like, dude, you can't be going and saving Roy. He did this for you, brother. And then Oliver's like, back the fuck up. He's like,
it was like, get your hands off me. I was like, oh, shit.
I thought they were going to brawl. Like, they never do that.
Let me ask you this.
Yes,
if Oliver and Diggle got into a fight, who do you think would have won?
Really? Oliver, hands down, Oliver.
I say Oliver too, but I mean, Diggle's got training, dude. He was like, he's military background.
When John Diggle becomes the Green Lantern, then he'll have a chance.
Yeah, but he would have got smoked by Oliver.
He was like, dude, you can't go right now. And Oliver's like, Diggle. He's like, Diggle. Let's be honest. And Diggle's kind of like, he's like, all right, yeah, do whatever you want. And then Felicity ends up running outside, and apparently she's the only human in the world that can talk Oliver down now at this point. Before he can go break Roy out and get into more trouble. And they have another awkward exchange, which I don't know if you caught this again, but another little love plot line in there where she's like, you're the man that I. And then they have this awkward look at each other, and then she's like, you're the man that I believe in. And I'm like, you wanted to say love. Like, don't be doing this with Ray. Now, Ray's heart's going to get broken.
Right.
He's going to have to shrink down to escape the broken heart. That was poetic, I feel like.
that was good. Really good. That was beautiful.
I really did try. And now Captain Lance goes to talk to Roy, and he tells him, like, he's really rude in this part with Roy in the jail cell. And he kind of tells him that he's making a fool of himself, thinking that, like, he's going to make up for killing the cop by like taking the blame for Oliver, which I didn't expect the scene to go that way at all. Like, I thought he was going to be consoling of Roy and be like, listen, the cop isn't your fault. Like, let Oliver take the blame and I'll, like, let you feel better. He's kind of like, fuck you, you killed a cop. I hate you.
He kind of started off that way, but then once Roy was like, I killed the cop, and he tried to force him to, like, get off his back, and he was like, well, you're still going to be a cop killer even if you're here. So.
Yeah, he's kind of like, well, yeah, then you suck, and thanks for you pointing it out instead of me.
Right, pretty much.
Felicity then gets caught by the Meta, which was so dumb because she's the one that did the facial recognition scan on him, and then all of a sudden he's wearing black glasses and she doesn't know who he is. Like,
right.
She's supposed to be a genius. She escapes the Meta's clutches by doing, like, the steam trick attack.
I was under the impression she did know who he was. I thought she was, like, playing dumb.
No, I thought she was like, oh, you're here to help me with, like, the servers and stuff like that. I don't think that was a plan. Was that the plan?
Yeah, she went there for that reason.
Oh my god, that makes so much more sense. Because the whole time I'm watching the episode, I'm like, why would they send Felicity to go do, like, this reconfiguration of the pipeline? Like, she's gonna die. And then that's why I thought Ray was all panicked, and he's like, I have to go get Felicity, and Oliver's like, I have to go get her. That's why I didn't think it was planned.
I don't know if it was their plan, but I think it was her plan.
Oh, okay, I see. So they weren't in on the. So I was like Ray and Oliver, and you were with Team Felicity. Okay,
yeah,
just making sure where we're at. Now they get the transmission, and this cool kind of scene happens where Oliver is linked to the Atom suit, and he kind of takes over, and he's beating the crap out of Jake Simmons is the Meta's name. That just popped into my head. I don't know how I remembered that, but didn't remember Felicity's plan. So God rest my soul. And they have this, like, moment. It's like armbands and sweatbands that he's wearing, and then he kind of, like, brawls with the guy. It works out pretty well for them. They get Felicity to safety, and then the transmission gets busted, so the link breaks, and then Oliver gives this pectoral, like, take him out, Ray! And he kind of turns into, like, beast mode Adam and beats the crap out of the guy, tackling him to the ground. How'd you feel about that whole scene?
It was awesome, dude. I loved it, actually, and I loved how intense Oliver got too. And like, he just has no game.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to play games. He's there to do a job, and he makes that known to everybody.
It's so good, and he always.
And I like that.
Done. Yeah, he always.
No matter when the episode's good or bad, I always feel like Stephen Amell performs
phenomenally.
Always.
And the worst part is, like,
so solid.
The one big thing I knew him from before the show, he played a male prostitute. Did I tell you this before on HBO on the Hung show? And he was only in, like, one season, and he played this, like, dumb, like, airhead, like, muscle dude that was, like, in a male prostitute service.
I had no idea. No, I didn't even know where he was
like, I didn't think he could pull this role off at all, like, being this dark superhero, but he nails it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Google, like, clips of that, and you'll watch him and be like, this isn't the Arrow. It, like, freaks me out now when I'm like, yeah,
that's so funny.
The same person. The whole episode culminates. This cop comes up to Roy in the prison and shivs him. Roy ends up bleeding out, and then we find out Thea's crying hysterically in the apartment, and Captain Lance is over. Oliver busts in and is like, Thea, what's wrong? I got your message. She's like, Roy is dead. What? Were you shitting?
Yeah, I was, because I thought he actually was dead.
And then they cut to commercial break, and I'm sorry, but the last commercial break in the episode was like 15 minutes long, and I was sitting there crying, and I'm like, how could they do this? It turns out they do that. This is referencing the Now You Can See Me moment that I was quoting before. Felicity and Diggle reveal Roy in the Arrow Cave to Oliver after he's sitting there like, I'm never going to forgive you guys. You didn't let me go break Roy out of jail. Now he's dead. And then Roy's kind of like, hey, buddy, this was my plan the whole time. I'm better than you. You taught me to be good. How'd you feel about the reveal? I thought it was so cool.
It was awesome. I had no idea. I was totally in the dark, 100% with them. I really did not see that coming at all.
It was so good. And the way they, like, that's the way I feel like they should use the flashbacks on the show. Because then they show you, like, back in time and they're like, Roy's going over his plan with Felicity and Diggle. Like, such awesome use of the flashbacks there.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good idea. It's smart.
I try. I could write the show, but they still haven't called me back yet. After all of that's happening, Oliver's guilt about Roy ends up having him like removed from the situation because now the Arrow, they discussed that because Roy died essentially in jail, he was the last one to confess to being the Arrow. So now he kind of has to leave Starling City so that nobody's like, oh, that's Roy Harper, he's supposed to be dead. And like I said before, I think this is the start of, or the seed that's going to bloom into the spin-off show. Maybe Roy Arsenal being the leader of that team eventually. I don't know. How'd you feel? Roy's now not going to be on the Arrow anymore.
Yeah, is that for good though, or what?
I mean, if the spin-off show does terribly, they're probably going to bring him back, but I think they're going to commit to him, like maybe doing crossover episodes, but I think they're going full throttle now with the spin-off show. I didn't see them doing this at all.
Is that a confirmed thing? He is a part of the spin-off show?
Yeah, the spin-off show is going to be Arsenal, Ronnie, Dr. Stein, Katie Lotz, which was the old Black Canary. That's Sarah Lance.
Right.
Which she's dead.
What?
Yeah, she's dead, so I don't know how that's going to work. And then the Atom is supposed to break off, also with Captain Cold. He's supposed to be somehow part of the team.
Weird.
I don't know what they're doing with the spin-off show, but that's the cast of characters that's been confirmed for it so far. And they recently, Cisco Instagrammed a picture and was like, so happy my buddy is going to be on the new spin-off series. And it was this famous actor that is also his friend, and he's playing one of the villains in the new show. So, like, they're shooting it and stuff. I just don't know how they're going to explain the old Black Canary. Like, Sarah's dead. She's in the ground. She's been in the ground for, like, months. Like, no Lazarus Pit is bringing back that. She's decayed and shit.
Yeah.
And then the episode ends here with Roy leaving, and then we see Cisco this is the one little crossover part of the episode. Cisco and Ray are putting Simmons back into like the Central City prison cell, and another crazy moment, they find out that he wasn't in Central City when the particle accelerator exploded. So how did he become a metahuman? What does this mean, do you think? Like, what?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know what that... Does that mean, like, Raven is existed in this universe with, like, her superpowers? Like, she wasn't in... Like, that's what I think they were ultimately like, alluding to, is, like, if they're going to cross over with the Supergirl show on CBS, like, there are people with superpowers that aren't metahumans that were our cause of it. I thought that's what they were alluding to. What do you think?
I didn't really think all that much into it, honestly. I just kind of accepted it at face value. I was a little thrown off, dude. I was a little thrown off by the Thea. I was a little thrown off by the Roy.
We didn't even get to that.
I know. That's why I didn't say what happens. I was just thrown off.
Okay, well, now we're going to have to say it, because that fucking... I want to cry. I'm going to cry. I only curse when I get very excited, people. I was shouting at my television. This happened on the end of Friends, too, which is a whole nother reaction time. Right? Ra's al Ghul shows up in Thea's apartment. She's pouring herself a glass of wine, dealing with the death of baby Roy, and then she drops the wine, and he gets into this awesome fight scene with her until he stabs her through the chest, and Thea dies, basically.
Was it an awesome fight scene?
It was so good. Thea was kicking ass.
Thea got her ass handed to her.
No, not for like the first minute.
Thea against Ra's al Ghul. You think that's a good fight?
No, but I knew she was gonna lose. But I'm saying, like, when she was holding her own for like the first minute and a half, like he was going at her, and she was like, and like she kicked with like no shoes on and crap.
That's the difference. She wasn't holding her own. He was allowing her. He was entertaining her for a minute.
Oh, well, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't like...
Now that I'm thinking about it, he was only like moving. Like,
he wasn't moving. He moved his arm a couple times. He was like, yeah, well, I'm done with this now. And then he slammed her through the freaking dining room table. So it's like, he's the master of assassins. You really thought that was like going to be anything, dude? She was dead. She was dead from the second she turned around and he was standing in there.
She said, oh my god, the worst part is the cinematography in this episode was great too. There was a shot where she's talking to Roy in the prison cell. And like it's just the metal grate and them two on either side of this like dividing line. Beautiful shot scene. And then this scene where her dead body is like almost in like Jesus like martyr form over the dining room table, and the fireplace is roaring behind her, and it's like coming up through her black silhouette of a body. She's gasping for air. Such an awesome episode, like the way it was shot and everything like that. But yeah, they show her next week. The previews show us that she's on life support, so technically she's dead-ish. But I also want to bring up before when Roy kind of tells her off in the prison cell, like, Are they gonna tell her that he just had to leave Starling City, but he's not dead? Like, what is going on with that situation?
He told her at the end to tell her he's alive, so.
But now she's in a coma, so.
But he doesn't know what's happened to her. They don't know what's happened to her yet.
So that's the only way I can see them maybe bringing back Roy for a bit.
So let's talk about this. Here's my problem.
Go.
It's the age-old problem of non-commitment. Like, if you're going to kill off a character, kill them.
Like, slit their throat and like.
They did it twice in this episode.
Yeah.
It was cool. I like the whole thing with Roy because they explained it and they went back to that one scene that we saw and we're like, oh, that's what they talked about back then. But like, kill them.
Was cheap, yeah.
Diaz was cheap, and then we saw in the previews that they're going to use the Lazarus Pit to bring her back.
Yeah.
They literally didn't even give you any time to grieve.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the episode ends, and then they play the previews right after for next week, and you see her wake up after the Lazarus Pit, and you're like, could you like give it a week at least to make us think she's dead?
Because the Flash teasers are always so good. They always like build up this idea in my head where it's like Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash. It's like wicca what? Like he'll just like pull off the mask or something, and then it'll like play dramatic music. The Arrow previews are like next week on the Arrow. Here's the synopsis, and they like give you point by point. Like Thea's gonna be in a coma, and then she's gonna go to the Lazarus Pit. They're gonna wake her up, revive her, and she's not dead. Everybody. The whole time too, Malcolm is apparently joining back up with them, and I swear to God, Dean, if they have the same exact storyline repeated with not trusting Malcolm and trusting Malcolm again, helping them, I will kill myself.
I know.
I know it's bad, dude.
So
good, but like, I can't deal with that again.
It is, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this episode was great, but like, I really liked it. I just thought like, maybe not both of them. I understand that Roy is going to be on the spinoff show as Arsenal. Like, that's awesome. Let him go do his thing. But like, Thea should have been final.
Yeah.
That should have been the final straw. Like, so far, like the only people I remember like actually dying is his mother,
the mom, the dad.
Yeah, the dad.
That's about it.
And not even Sarah, apparently, because she's going to be on the new show.
Yeah, and that's what's making me angry too. Is like Sarah's now is gonna. How are that just doesn't make sense to me. They have to
so like
do that.
What? Like I don't get it. Like I don't get it.
It just doesn't make sense. But
and I also have a second theory.
Oh God. Oh yeah, you never told me the other theory.
Maybe do we think that things could possibly change? Or maybe things have already changed from the fact that the Flash rewound time in his world. Does that affect, like, I don't understand how it works. Is that the whole timeline for everyone changes? Or is that, like, just what happened in Central City? You know what I mean? Like, it has to be for everyone, right?
You're blowing my freaking mind right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so...
Like, in a different timeline, would Felicity have ended up with, like, Oliver or something? Like, maybe
I don't know. Or maybe Sarah lives in that timeline. I don't know what happens.
Dean, that's so smart! They go back in time and they save Sarah from Thea. And then Race doesn't go after Oliver. Maybe that's how the finale ends. Dean!
It's a theory. It's a theory I cooked up.
You're a
genius.
Know.
We'll have to see.
Because they're going to cross over in the finale. So that would make so much sense.
It would be reasonable, yeah.
And then the spin-off show starts when they come back for their next seasons.
And I'll tell you what, if that is what happens, dude,
that's crazy.
I will be so... like much more okay with them not like bringing finality to killing off the characters.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because then the timeline got screwed up, so it's not anybody's fault. They could just rewrite it off.
Right.
It's like a crappy way to do it, but like
it's a cop out.
Sense. Yeah.
But we know that he has this ability, so it's like a useful cop out at least.
I love this. Dean, you're so smart.
We'll have to see. Maybe we should be the writers for these shows.
Do we write the Flash? We're never writing the spinoff show because that's just hell waiting to happen. But like,
no, I don't want to write that garbage.
I feel like you need to do the Arrow more because like you nail like that was beautiful. Dean, I can't.
I think about these things when I watch it. I'm glad you're so happy with it.
Here I'm sitting here. I just pick out the funny quotes. I'm like, remember the time when Felicity said she was eating Barry and Oliver's body? I'm like, oh, you're like Greg, but listen to the timelines. I'm like, oh my god.
Because I sit there and I just watch and I think, and I always watch with my girlfriend, and she's not really into the superhero shows, and she'll ask questions and stuff, and then I'll answer them, and then I'll sit there and I'll think and I'll be like, but maybe not. Maybe this is what's happening. And like, that's how I form these theories. Because I always have someone there who's like asking about these worlds. So I'm constantly like thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Having to explain. Shout out to Jen. She literally gave us the best revelation ever in the world.
She sparks my brain, that girl.
She sparks your brain. She's beautiful and she's
you don't
funny.
Have to sing that. That's okay.
That was how we're ending our reaction time for the Arrow, Jen, so you're welcome. I want to thank you all for watching with us. Dean, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. You're
Always.
a beautiful man, and I love you so much.
You're a beautiful man, and I love me too. Did you see what I did there? The trophy war is still on. I breathe fire. I like kill you somehow. But that was our reaction time on the Arrow. Of course, that was season 3, episode 19. And once again, they're ahead an episode by the Flash. So in the finale, they're gonna have to catch up to each other somehow. I'm thinking Arrow's gonna go off for a week, and then like Flash will be able to catch up. Unless one's gonna be 1 episode shorter. I'm not positive.
When is it? Are the season finales when?
It should be in 4 weeks then, because episode 23.
And they're back to back?
Yeah, I think.
That'll be a good week.
Although maybe they'll take off for like Memorial Day. A lot of shows do that.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
That would be very annoying. And then we have to wait an extra 2 weeks, and that way Flash catches up. Maybe that's what they'll do. We don't know, but we will be there to cover those shows for you guys when they do air. Of course, you can check out this archive reaction time when it goes up live on our YouTube page at youtube.com/TheLevelUpShow, level spelled LV. And of course, if you want to help us improve all of our shows and donate to us, but feel in no way obligated to, you can do so at patreon.com/TheLevelUpNetwork, spelled exactly as it sounds, in a ball that I will put right here for you.
That looks bad. You're fondling.
I'm fondling what, though?
You know.
We go off the rails, and I love it. And it also makes me happy. We talked about Blue's Clues in one of these, I'm pretty sure.
We did. That happened.
But thank you all for watching. I didn't really see a lot in the chat room for this live episode about the Arrow, but we did get a bunch of new followers and stuff like that, which is cool. So thank you all for watching. Emma is in here, which is what I want to name my future daughter. She's a new viewer.
She's a new viewer, a new follower. She said she's going to subscribe. She followed us on Twitter. So way to go. Shout out to you, Emma.
Emma is always Bay, which I love that name too.
That's
Emma,
a good username.
Do. Oh, you will always be my baby. We respond. Okay, I can't. Emma, you're welcome for that. We just ended our video for you. Never forget to level up, everybody. And Emma, yes, now because we sang after my last sentence, that will be archived on the video for you too. You can go to sleep to that at night. Always remember to level up, and always remember that Emma is Bay.
Level up, Bay.
Oh, that was good.